Since hip-hop began 50 years ago, it has endured a grave number of culture vultures throughout the years. Culture vultures is generally someone who isn't actually of the culture or immersed in the culture that exploits said culture for either monetary benefit or fame notoriety. The latest one to hold the culture vulture crown has definitely been Drake, but there
That's how you feel tonight, Flex?
But there was definitely some before him.
Streets, if you can't see that I'm from the streets, then you're blind. I hear this, the fed day, my year to bunch it down, women it is the no, man, but none of that distributed things about the doke and then I get it is to me.
And you ain't black.
Today, we're going to dive into the careers of two iconic 90s rappers, Vanilla Ice and Snow, who rose to fame by riding the wave of hip hop and reggae.
Here's a fact.
See, there's a gentleman there, second.
I didn't say all
first.
of them, I said the majority.
He did.
Only to be brought down by one man's comedic genius.
You don't believe certain icons have the power to make change, to think differently, to be bold, to inspire others? Artistry, you're one of them.
On the good foot. Ha!
Not only that, you'll see the similarities between Drake's career and two of the biggest culture vultures ever to touch the mic, and how everything went well until they met the culture vulture killer. In 1990, rap would finally get its big breakout moment where a single would go #1 on the Billboard charts. But this track would not come from one of the forefathers of hip hop mainstream, like Run DMC, Melly Mel. This track would come from a suburban white kid out of Miami, Florida, named Robert Van Winkle. Ice, Ice Baby. Vanilla Ice, way before the other culture vultures who would come to follow, he had the culture vulture starter pack. I mean, he had the friendly white boy look with the weak attempt at FBA swag. He had someone to pattern himself after, which we will go through in a minute. And lastly, he had ghostwriters.
He said he wrote Ice Ice Baby at 16. He didn't write no parts of that song.
The result led to a pop star who would smash the Billboard chart with the catchy pop hit, Ice Ice Baby. The track was spread worldwide at a time where rap wasn't really known for going international. The first rap album to go #1 on the Billboard charts was achieved 3 years earlier by the Beastie Boys. Now I'm just gonna say, I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm not gonna say nothing.
On the good foot. Ha!
The song would put Vanilla Ice on the map worldwide. But this song in particular would also become the beginning of Vanilla Ice's problems. Though he was new to the rap game and his newfound success, he was not naive to the industry tactics of stealing samples and getting ghostwriters, then being reluctant to pay him.
He lies. Like, every song I did on that album, he credited himself. He said he wrote Ice Ice Baby at 16. He didn't write no parts of that song. And he really believed it. We had a problem that when the record came out, I was sent to Texas to go work with him on the album. I did 9 songs. He was supposed to pick 5 that I was getting paid for, but he ended up putting all 9 on the album. So we went back to sue him for the other songs that you put on that I never got paid for.
For his hit, Ice Ice Baby, he used a sample from Queen, no different than MC Hammer in Don't Touch This, who sampled Rick James.
That hip hop was there before my record. They think I'm the first person to ever sample a song and make a hip hop song out of it. And I'm not. EPMD did it a decade before me.
Yeah.
You have Run DMC doing it.
The problem is Rick James was credited for his sample, while Queen did not get the credit for their sample on Ice Ice Baby.
Everybody was sampling and I just did what I was influenced by, right?
Listen to Vanilla Ice try to explain how his version is different than Queen's.
From him, but it's not the same bass line. Like it goes ding 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 ding. That's the way theirs goes. Ours goes ding 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 ding.
Winkle had an industry problem where pretty much everybody that did business with him afterwards would come out with some type of story that just made Ice look like he was a pathological liar.
I'm just gonna keep it 100. He lies so much that he be believing in lies. I'm telling you facts. He lies so much. He's a liar, bro.
Popular 90s late night talk show host Arsenio Hall would tell such a story. Vanilla Ice would go on the Arsenio Hall show, which was the late night destination for most of Black America at the time. The interview was full of awkward moments. Please do me one small favor before we get too far in this video. Apply pressure to that subscribe button. Yes, apply pressure.
Vanilla Ice.
It started off immediately with Vanilla Ice trying to change the format of the show and bring up his friend Flavor Flav. And mind you, Vanilla Ice is a guest on the show.
I'm interested in what...
Check this out, I want to do something, man. Okay. Before we get into all this stuff, I want to give a special shout out, and I want to bring a homeboy of mine out here. Flavor Flav.
What's going on, Flav? Flavor Flav. Yes.
It's a lot.
Now, do you mind waiting for us over there while we do this interview, please?
Oh, no,
don't mind.
Flavor Flav in the house.
This automatically made Arsenio visibly upset, but he kept his composure.
Yes. Now, that sufficiently wasted a little time, but we still gonna get to the issues, Ice.
Then Arsenio began to troll Vanilla Ice to the point he literally asked Ice, does he deserve the applause he was receiving?
Now, listen to all that. Do you deserve that? I didn't ask y'all.
One part that I laughed my ass off on is when Arsenio Hall implied that Vanilla Ice was suppressed.
The statement was, those that tried to hold the Ice Man down can kiss my white ASS.
Yep.
Now you get a little time to expound on that.
Well, I just basically said it because, you know, the people who said I never could make it, that I would never amount to SHI, you know, the rest, and you know, that never, you know, said, you know, white boy can't make it in rap music. I, you know, kiss my white, you know, the rest. Like, you know, it's like, ha, right in your face, you know.
So this is a white rapper being suppressed kind of revenge. You have been embroiled in a lot of controversy. The press has been really hard on you lately, saying that you lie about your background.
That's really old news, though. You know, that's all old news. I didn't lie about.
But
nothing.
I haven't interviewed you, so it's new news for my audience. So let's get into it.
I had to prove that I'm not a liar for something I'm not even proud about. Getting stabbed. I did get stabbed 5 times. I almost died. Something I'm not proud about. I am from the street.
Hell no. He wasn't from the hood. He lived in I think like Garland. He ain't from the hood. That's
streets, and if you can't see that I'm from the streets, then you're blind, because the majority of white people, you know, cannot dance, and they don't have much rhythm, you know. Here's a fact.
See, there's a gentleman there, second.
I didn't say all
first.
of them. I said the majority.
He did this. You make white people angry at you, man.
No, man. Hey.
Later on, Arsenio will be questioned, and Hall would say he was genuinely pissed at Ice's appearance on his show because Vanilla Ice's team showered him at the last minute with a whole bunch of false facts.
Let's break it down. I'm not sure if I was poking fun at him as much, because to be totally honest with you, I wasn't feeling funny. I'd had a long, hard day, and I probably wasn't feeling like teasing anyone. I'd had some things go on in the research process with him, and I'd been misled with some information that was about to go out to my audience that night. Some things that were untrue, some intentional lies, and I felt I was being used, and my audience trusts me. And it started in the middle of the day when I was given this statistic about him winning a motocross competition or something, and I found out it was untrue, and then this was untrue, and that was untrue.
Ice seemed to have a period where he started getting arrogant, getting ahead of himself. He did something at the time that people just looked at as just horrendous. He challenged MC Hammer to a dance rap battle.
Vanilla kicks, ballistics with dope lyrics. Oh, what a pity though, cause you had to spend $3 million on your video.
And if there was one thing that MC Hammer could do, is dance and rap.
It was a good video, and I can admit that all that money's it's wasted, cause your song's whacked. I make stones to make the people gather and let them see us in a pit. I wanna slam dance with your hammer.
Now, Hammer may have had subliminals, but never a direct attack at Vanilla Ice, well, because Hammer had enough beef on his own.
Can't Touch This by MC Hammer.
Okay, and why do you like that one?
Because it's raging and he's funky. Funky dance steps.
Parents out there listening to this that think he's serious, why is the audience laughing?
The reason, I'm down with him because he's a brother and he's making his mail. But, however, he's diluting rap. You know what I'm saying? He's making something, he's playing that Sambo role, and the reason everybody's buying his record is because he's no threat and everybody want to see Sambo dance.
How do black artists treat you?
Great. That's where I'm. Listen,
like Tupac or Biggie or those guys.
Oh, good friends of mine. I was friends with Tupac way before he even blew up. When
NWA,
he was with Digital Underground. NWA.
Hammer became the victim of a growing phase of hip hop where it was still very young, and any kind of adaptation of a style to attract or appeal to mainstream of any sort was looked at as selling out. In today's market, with the numbers Hammer was selling, he would definitely be looked at as top of the game. But this was different than Vanilla Ice, who was looked at as just a culture vulture, stealing samples from artists and biting off of other rappers' style, who was another sellout at that. So his time of being relevant will be short-lived for a few factors. One thing that happens to culture vultures is eventually the community figures out there's an opportunity at hand. And one of the first to figure out this opportunity was the former defensive lineman turned security guard, turned record label exec, yeah, you got it, Suge Knight, who knew a thing or two about publishing.
First time I met Suge Knight was at a restaurant in LA called Palm.
Looking back at this story, Vanilla Ice might have been mad for easily giving up publishing points. He told the media a now famous story involving Suge Knight in a balcony. Now, this story has been brought up countless times through the years.
And I was sitting there eating, nice meal, and all of a sudden these huge guys, looked like a football team, showed up. You know, it was very intimidating to see these guys. They were bigger than my bodyguards, you know, and a bunch of them. And they pretty much grabbed my bodyguard and pulled him out and sat down next to me right there and started talking to me. How you doing?
Uninvited?
Totally uninvited. I didn't even know him.
See him again?
Sure did. Saw him again a few months later. He did the same thing, just kind of showed up to me, said hi, and then left. And still thinking, well, wow, this guy knows where I'm at all times. How does he know where I'm at?
Knight told us, before he knew we had talked with Van Winkle, that it was all very friendly.
He agreed to everything. It wasn't a problem. And
wait, he agreed to everything?
I mean, you know, he said the guy wrote the song. He didn't have a problem with it. He said
that's not what he says at all.
I had my bodyguards who had guns, and they had their people which had guns, and they had us outpowered and outnumbered. Suge took me out on the balcony, started talking to me personally.
On the balcony?
On the balcony.
High above?
Like 15 floors. He had me look over the edge, show me how high I was up there.
Van Winkle says Suge Knight told him to sign over points from the song to a man named Mario Lavelle Johnson. Who is Mario Lavelle Johnson? His name is listed.
That's the guy that Suge Knight brought over there that was an acquaintance of mine that had nothing to do with that song.
Raps, and I was at the table and came up with it. He didn't like it to be 100. He did not like Ice Ice Baby.
You signed over the rights?
I signed over the rights to him so that Suge and them could get paid for it.
How much were those points worth?
About $4 million, $3 million, anywhere between there. $3 to $4 million.
He says you had a number of men there with guns. You then took him out to the balcony, he says. And you said you're going to sign over the rights. Did you do that?
No, I did not.
It never happened?
Never happened.
You didn't take him out to the balcony?
I hadn't signed.
It sounds like what occurs in other police reports involving you. Again and again, there's a pattern, Mr. Knight, where you do that.
That's not true.
But in our primetime investigation, we found one court case after another in which Knight has pleaded guilty to criminal charges involving vicious assaults, beatings, a pistol whipping, and on and on.
Knight always denied this story, but everyone, from the fans to the media to the industry, never gave Suge a reasonable doubt. Though this is what Suge has always had to say. Turns out, he may have not been lying.
So the world thinks the Suge hung him over a banister. That shit never happened. That's an urban legend. I was there. So all of that's a lie.
Vanilla Ice was playing the white man's game of using a man's past to claim unfair business when in actuality, Suge probably got those points from nothing but old-fashioned intimidation. And that's not illegal, folks. But some would say the main factor to achieve the destruction of Vanilla Ice's career would come from an up-and-coming sketch actor out of Canada who would go on later to be one of the best to ever do it, Jim Carrey.
There's a nice hot curling iron. Watch.
Jim Carrey was one of the main actors and driving forces on a groundbreaking sketch show called Living Color. Carrey, a master at writing and performing characters, took on a different task this time when he took to the stage to perform one of the greatest parodies in comedy history, White Baby. Now, this parody was done over 30 years ago, and I'll be honest, I was a child, but I still vividly remember this skit just as much as the song. And watching it is just as funny today.
Oh, yeah, I'm white.
Carrey would start off exuberantly displaying Vanilla Ice's silly attempts of trying to hijack a culture. It all starts with the name Robert Van Winkle.
What's your real name? Robert Van Winkle. Why did you change? Nothing rhymes with Winkle.
He then goes on to mention how Ice is just riding the culture's wave.
When's it gonna stop? Maybe never. I'll become richer with every endeavor.
In this spot, he brilliantly displays Vanilla Ice as a culture vulture that just doesn't know where he belongs in hip-hop. There is no way that if this occurred today, that this would not be looked at as a diss track.
I'm living large and my bank is stupid because I just listen to real rap and stupid.
Though it was a parody, it was too accurate. He even pointed out how Vanilla Ice was known as a pathological liar.
I told the world I was stabbed in the butt, but it was a toilet paper cut.
Yeah! For something I'm not even proud about, getting stabbed. I did get stabbed 5 times, I almost died.
Yo, I ain't stupid. I just stupid. Word to your mother.
Now, Ice's career would not disappear in the thin air, of course. He would go on to be in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in an attempt to boost his career. He even starred in his own film, Cool as Ice, with Naomi Campbell, which was a failure. Van Winkle's story does not end with Ice screwing off his money and ending up somewhere in the streets begging. He actually was able to use the royalties he kept off of Ice Baby to get in different investment ventures.
Publishing, I bought that and then I had money and then I was like, you know what? But I had money to buy it, which was a good thing. Because I've always made great investments, which is why I was telling you I've never been bitter about any Suge Knight thing. I've never been bitter. Look at me.
And he's still a multi-millionaire from different sources of income, mainly real estate. But he will forever be known as a culture vulture. And if the world ever forgets, Jim Carrey will remind us.
Oh, yeah, I'm white.
As I'm writing this, it just reminds me of how much I admire Jim Carrey. I mean, he's one of the actors out there that Hollywood has become afraid to interview because they never know if Jim Carrey is gonna issue out some truth serum. You gotta love Jim Carrey.
Wait, tell me, is it true you're wandering the streets? You need a date to the party? What's up?
No. I'm doing just fine. I just, there's no meaning to any of this. So I wanted to find the most meaningless thing that I could come to and join, and here I am.
Well, they say they're celebrating icons inside.
Celebrating
Do you believe
icons,
in icons?
boy, that is just the absolute lowest aiming, possibility that we.
You don't believe certain icons have the power to make change, to think differently, to be bold, to inspire others? Artistry, you're one of them.
On the good foot. Ha!
Yeah.
So what's happening in our world right now? Because there is a lot of news that actually is relevant that's not that
Here's
uplifting.
the thing, it's not our world.
None of
That's
this
the
is
key.
real?
Yep.
Robert Van Winkle would not be the only culture vulture to feel the wrath of the ever so talented Jim Carrey.
Snow can go 2 ways. The American way can be because a white boy doing Jamaican music, right? And the Jamaican way, which my culture is break it down for superb, notorious, outrageous white boy.
In the 90s, an artist out of Toronto will release one of the greatest tracks in reggae dance hall music history. Snow, who came from the same pop generation as Vanilla Ice, had the Culture Vulture starter kit. His came with a slightly different kit where he mixed in the basic white boy look with the trending FBA fashion and a weak attempt at a black man's swag. And in this case, the Jamaican patois culture. Snow was Irish, and he was proud of it.
My real name's Darren O'Brien.
An Irish
Proud Irish.
Now you're probably asking yourself, how did a Toronto-bred Irish guy go #1 on the charts with the reggae song? Raised in the North District of Toronto, nearby the Allenbury housing projects, after the Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau revamped the immigration policy, it resulted in a amount of Jamaicans migrating into the neighborhood. Snow says he acquired his Jamaican accent from hanging around the projects. But he actually spoke on how he hijacked the culture and went from David O'Brien to Snow.
One thing, I just picked it up, just hanging with the Jamaicans, you know what I'm saying? And I used to get the tapes, like I said, and I used to just rewind it and play it and play it and rewind it and play it. And it was almost like a game to me because I didn't understand what he was saying. And I'd rewind it, oh, that's what he said. And I hear the next version, what did he say? Oh, that's what he said. So then I was really getting into it.
O'Brien's Jamaican accent, patois, came across so absurd to some Jamaicans that they claimed he pretty much invented his own language in the process.
I hear this, the fitted my year bunch it down, women it is the no, but none of that distributed things about the doke and then I get it is to me.
Now what the fuck is that? What the?
Yeah, let me tell you what it means. It says, I used to play my yellow banjo and rest it on my knee, but now the strings are broken down, it has no use to me.
Unlike Vanilla Ice, Snow's unveiling of his background was sprinkled with honesty. O'Brien grew up drinking and brawling, and it landed him in the detention center on attempted murder charges. Before being sentenced while on vacation, he would run into MC Shan, who was out buying weed.
Was hanging on Jamaica Avenue in Queens, and then Shan came down to buy some herb. And I knew Shan from, I was like, oh, Shan's like, I heard you could sing. I was like, oh. He's like, let me hear you. And I was like, blah, 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 blah. He was like, yo, come to my house. I was like, all right, I got nothing to do, Shan. I said, all right.
It was Shan who would go on to show Snow the ropes of the industry and help Snow write the highest selling reggae song of all time, Informer.
I saw him on Arsenio Hall, and I said to myself, Snow, that's not Snow, that's Darren O'Brien.
Performing his #1 smash, Informer, from his hit CD, 12 Inches of Snow. 12 inches, Snow? 12 inches of snow? That's a lot of snow. Give it up for Snow!
Now, this song was so hard to interpret that even his fellow Canadians didn't know what genre to put it into. They kept calling it a rap song.
A lot of us associate rap music with Jamaica, but one of the most popular artists in this dancehall hip-hop genre is named Snow, and he's a 23-year-old white male from Toronto. Snow has lived, how shall I say it, a very troubled life, in and out of jail on dozens of charges. But he has a rap style few can touch, and Canadian fans have turned his debut album, 12 Inches of Snow, double platinum.
To be fair to Snow, the biggest difference between him and Vanilla Ice is he seemed to really have a love for the culture that wasn't his. He didn't seem to directly try to profit off of it as much as Vanilla Ice, who came in the industry using janky tactics. But he would still have his moment. Snow's moment would come when Carrey would perform a parody to Informer called Imposter. This time he had help with fellow show colleague Tommy Davidson, who played the role of MC Shan, and man, all I can tell you is Jim Carrey did it again.
It's Bob Gibberish and it'll go gold. I am what I am and that's all that I am.
He starts pointing out how ridiculous it is that a white boy from Canada has a #1 hit reggae song using watered down patois.
Imposter, I'm just a middle class worker from Toronto. In spite of how I sound, single one platinum bigger than Marley and Jimmy and Yellowman, but I'm not even mulatto. My reggae's watered down. Give me
Same as what Carrey did with Ice, if this went down today, this would once again be looked at as a straight up diss song. Too accurate.
On the radio, think I could not be blacker, but on my video, you see I'm really a cracker.
You can hear the beautiful angles of Carrey just showcasing how some of the legitimate reggae greats, such as Shabba Ranks, never sold as high as Snow.
You can criticize me all the way to the bank. My single's #1 and Shabba don't rank.
And how many would judge blacks with the gangster rap but would say nothing against Snow, who was doing a reggae song about someone snitching on him after committing a murder.
Time Warner kicked Ice-T off the label, put this in the cops. They said it just ain't right. But when a Caucasian man records a copying song, they don't have a problem. Must be an oversight.
And oh yeah, he was on trial for attempted murder. After connecting Snow's career to Vanilla Ice's, he would go on to predict that Snow's career would not last long.
Imposter like Vanilla Ice, the people are sick of me. They put my boom boom down in 4 months. My brother'll be back in Canada working a day job with a burger crown.
In all honesty, it could be debated that it wasn't just Carrey that killed O'Brien's career, but his career ended from his own doing. He would claim that after catching a couple cases in Canada, that he was banned from ever entering America, leading radios to stop playing his tracks, knowing he could never promote the song in person. After dropping 2 follow-up albums that flopped, O'Brien would dive deep into a life of partying and drugs, until eventually his fame withered away. So he will always be known mostly for the track Informer. And if they ever get inquisitive in the future, Jim Carrey's work will be right there to explain.